Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is Hammock Sports with another football video, and today I'm doing my AFC North predictions for the 2022 NFL season. I'm going to be going through every division in the NFL throughout the month of July. I start with AFC East, now I'm going to the AFC North. I'm going to be predicting all of the games for each team and what their records are going to be. Again, all of these predictions are tentative to change before the beginning of the season. But I will be posting one final video after I've done all the divisions before the season starts with my final predictions. Also, I am starting a fantasy football league with members of the channel community. If you're on the Discord, I'll put the link to the Discord in the comments in the description below. I'll also put the link to the fantasy football league if you want to join. It's a 14-person league. We might change it to 12. I'm not sure. But yeah, feel free to join that if you're interested, and let's get right into it. First up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers currently have a 18 season streak of having a 500 record or better. That started in 2004 with Ben Roethlisberger, and it's continued all the way up until 2021. So this year, although I have their record at 8-9, I do think that they will finish 9-8 or 8-1. I think that they'll have a 500 or better record for the 19th season in a row. I think that Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to make it work. The Steelers are always in the conversation. They haven't been real competitors for the title the last few years, but they're always in the conversation for the playoffs. I think this year they'll continue to be in the conversation for the playoffs in one of the probably most evenly matched divisions in the league. It was really hard for me to pick who I thought was going to come out on top here. And Mitch Trubisky does have a pretty good record for his career so far. He's well over 500. So depending on how he does with the Steelers team, I know they lost Juju Smith-Schuster, but that could potentially be a benefit to them. We'll see how the Steelers are. I think that 8-9 is likely. I think that 9-8 is probably probable. I think 10-7 might be a stretch, but I think they're going to be around 500. I have them winning against the Bengals. I have every team in this division splitting both games. Now, I know that's not going to happen, but I think that all these teams are so evenly matched that I think that most of the matchups are going to be splits. There's 3... 6. There's like 10 different matchups between these teams. I think that most of them are going to be splits. So I have the Steelers splitting with the Bengals. I have them losing to the Patriots, splitting with the Browns, beating the Jets, losing to the Bills, losing to the Buccaneers, losing to the Dolphins, beating the Eagles, losing to the Saints, losing to the Colts, beating the Falcons, splitting with the Ravens, beating the Panthers, and beating the Raiders. I don't know if I'm underestimating the Raiders or not. I think that the AFC, outside of the top 5 teams in the AFC, the rest of the teams are all major question marks. Derek Carr's been very inconsistent in his career, but they picked up Devontae Adams after making the playoffs last year. The Patriots made the playoffs last year after being the 1 seed for a week and then dropping down to the 7 seed. They're all a year older, and James White is back, but still a questionable team. The Dolphins were 9-8 last year, barely missed the playoffs after having a 7-game winning streak. Saints are another big question mark, so are the Colts. The Saints don't have Drew Brees, obviously, but Jameis Winston is back, who started 5-2 last year. And the Colts have Matt Ryan after almost making the playoffs with the worst quarterback. So I think a lot of these games are question marks. That's why I have the Steelers winning about half of those question mark games, losing to the Patriots, Dolphins. Actually, I have them losing most of them. But I do have them comfortably winning against the Falcons, Panthers. I think that the division they're playing helps them and hurts them. I think that it's 2 guaranteed wins against the Panthers and the Falcons, and then they'll need to fight against the Saints. But I think that could be an upset they could win. I also think that the Dolphins, Patriots, and Colts are all upsets that they could easily win. But if they convert any of those games, they could easily go 9-8. Next, we have the Cleveland Browns at 9-8. I have the Browns beating the Panthers and Jets comfortably, splitting with the Steelers, beating the Falcons, losing to the Chargers, Patriots, and Ravens 3 weeks in a row, splitting with the Bengals, beating the Dolphins, losing to the Bills and Bucks, losing to the Bengals, beating the Texans, beating the Ravens, losing to the Saints, and then beating Washington and the Steelers. I'm a little concerned for the Cleveland Browns this season. I think that Deshaun Watson is going to have a good season, and I think that the fact that Baker Mayfield is officially out of Cleveland and on the Carolina Panthers is going to help their team. The fact that Baker Mayfield is no longer in the conversation, nowhere to be seen in Cleveland, is positive for them. But now there's more stuff coming out with Deshaun Watson. I still don't know exactly what's going on with that team. We really won't know until the beginning of the season, I'm pretty sure. So I'm skeptical to say how good they're going to be, especially if Deshaun Watson doesn't get enough time. Even if he does play, if he doesn't get enough time practicing, or if he doesn't gel with the team well enough, there could be some issues down the line. I don't think that the Browns are I don't think that the Browns are the safest bet to make the playoffs this year in the AFC. I think that they could fight against some of the playoff teams, but I think that they're going to majorly lose to playoff teams and beat the bad teams. And they have a lot of bad teams in their schedule. I have the Ravens going 10-7. I have them beating the Jets, losing to the Dolphins, beating the Patriots, and losing to the Bills. Wow, they just have the AFC East for the first 4 weeks. I do have them losing to the Dolphins because they lost to them last year. I think that the Dolphins have a better team this year, and I think that they're going to be able to pull that one out of the bag once again. I have them losing to the Bengals, losing to them at the end of the season, beating the Giants. I think they'll win that game like 45-3. I have them beating the Browns, losing to the Buccaneers, beating the Saints, beating the Panthers, beating the Jaguars, losing to the Broncos, beating the Steelers, losing to the Browns, beating the Falcons, and losing the last 2 games of the season to the Steelers and the Bengals. A lot of people might say that 10-7 is a pretty low record for Lamar Jackson. I think that last year he was 6-3 when he was the starter. I think that 10-7 is a pretty reasonable prediction if you look at their schedule. Out of the teams that they're playing, the playoff contenders: Dolphins, Patriots, Bills, Bengals, Browns, Bucks, Saints, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Steelers, Bengals. 12 of their 17 games are against playoff contenders. I have them losing 7. So I have them winning 5 of the 12 games against playoff contenders, which is fair. I think it is a little low. I think that they'll probably win 2 of their 3 divisional matchups. I think that 11-6 is probably a more likely record for them. Again, these predictions are solely based off of who I think will win the matchup. Not what record do I think this team is going to get, but who do I think will win the matchup. And I think that it's more than likely that they'll split with the Browns, the Steelers, and the Bengals, but I do think that if I'm being objective, they'll probably win 4 of those 6 games. So 10-7 is my prediction from the straight predictions. But I think that 11-6 is a more than possible record for them, if not more likely than 10-7. I think they'll probably win 6 of their 12 games against the playoff contenders, and I think that the Bills, the Bucks, and the Broncos are the 3 teams that I think that they're more than likely going to lose against. Last but certainly not least, we have the Super Bowl contenders from last season, the Cincinnati Bengals. First time they won a playoff game in like 30 years and they made the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow looked amazing towards the end of the season last year. I think he's going to have quite an amazing season again this year. Potentially becoming a top 10 or top 5 quarterback at the end of the year. He is top 10 right now. Top 5 is possible for the end of the season. I have them losing to the Steelers week 1 and then winning a whole lot of games. I have them beating the Cowboys, the Jets, and the Dolphins 3 weeks in a row. Losing to the Ravens, beating every team in the NFC South except for the Buccaneers, losing to the Browns, beating the Panthers, beating the Steelers, beating the Titans, I think that Tennessee is going to have an interesting season this year. I think that their playoff game last year shows us more about what they're going to be this year than their season last year. Because last year the AFC South didn't have the hardest schedule in the world, and then they collapsed in the playoffs. And then they didn't play very well against playoff teams in the regular season either. With how difficult the AFC is going to be this year, I don't see Tennessee being the number one seed again. I have them losing to Kansas City, although they did beat them twice last year. They beat them in the regular season and the playoffs. I have Kansas City getting revenge, much like I have Buffalo getting revenge over Kansas City. So I think that there's going to be some revenge games going on. Although I do still think the Dolphins will beat the Ravens. I have the Browns again splitting with the Browns, losing to Tampa, beating the Patriots, losing to the Bills, and beating the Ravens. I think that 11-6 is a pretty reasonable record for them. It's better than their record last year at 10-7. But they did win the division last year at 10-7. So I think that 11-6 is pretty reasonable. I think that they're probably going to win the division with one of the lower. They'll probably be the 4th seed again. But I think that even with the 4 seed, they're going to have a strong playoff run. Again, it's hard to predict these games so far out because we don't know what Kansas City is going to look like without Tyreek Hill. We don't know what they're going to look like with that inconsistent defense of theirs. We don't know what Tennessee is going to look like without Ryan Tannehill, or without A.J. Brown, or without Julio Jones, or with Derrick Henry being back. We don't know what the Patriots are going to look like. We don't know what the Ravens are going to look like with Lamar coming off of injury. We don't know what the Dolphins. We really don't know what half of the AFC teams are going to look like. So these predictions are really hard to do. But I think that the Bengals will probably finish with a comfortable 11-6, making the playoffs in this tough AFC race for the season. So those are my AFC North predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment below if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Make sure to join the Fantasy League. Peace.